Hi everyone, I'm Doug Black at Inside HPC, and today we're at the ISC 2024 conference in Hamburg. And with me now is Andreas Thomasch of Lenovo. Andreas.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Okay. And Andreas is a director of HPC and AI in Europe for Lenovo. And why don't we start off, Andreas, with your thoughts on how Lenovo relates to this year's ISC theme, which is Reinventing HPC.
Yeah, thank you. I believe we've been inventing and reinventing HPC all along the time. Yeah, because we have a dedicated team, we have a real mission in HPC as Lenovo. It's close to our hearts, and let's make this a little bit more tangible from my side. Yeah, so we've been starting more than 10 years ago together with LRZ, engineering around water cooling and inventing the technology that really made this into mass production for HPC. Which I think is a key thing. We have helped to reinvent HPC to make it more sustainable, more cost efficient, but also more capable to cater for higher power environments. Yeah, I think that's a key one. A second example is that we helped with the as a service model to bring different consumption models into new client spaces. Yeah, so with a large French bank, they struggled with their own skills and capability to deploy warm water cooling, but wanted to do it. So we brought it as a service solution to them that even includes the data center, but it's still an on-premise solution for them. I think that's a key innovation we brought. And then lastly, as another example, is how do you interact with stuff? This is things like graphical user interfaces, ease of use, Solico, which is one of our solutions for intelligent cluster orchestration, is another thing we invented or reinvented to make it easy for you users also coming from the AI space to access such powerful resources. I think that's a very nutshell thing, how we relate to this theme, which we believe is very accurate, because that's what is needed in HPC to stay on top of what's happening.
So let's take a look at how you're making progress across all those fronts.
Yep, so if you take a closer look at how this is happening, look at water cooling, right? It's something we've done for ages already, but we now see new user groups. Because with the trend of AI and this emergence and the big demand for AI systems, you have all diverse kind of demand for it. And we want to cater both for the single instance, the small user, less experienced, as well to the very high-end, very experienced, very senior HPC users. We call this basically from exascale to every scale. But we also call this Transforming HPC and AI for All, which is our theme on the boost this year. Yeah? And so such an 8 GPU system, we have an air-cooled flavor. For the ones who have air-cooled data centers, it's easy to deploy, nothing to change really there. But if they want to deploy more systems and they reach like 50 kilowatts, which is the maximum of an air-cooled rack design, we have a water-cooled version of the same box. So you stay in the same systems management, the same kind of box design, the same deployment model. It's easy for the same users to scale and go to water cooling. But by doing so, you massively improve energy efficiency. Because just the fans of such a 10 kilowatt system, this is really about already like 20% of the power usage, just for fans, just for moving hot air. And by going to a water-cooled design for the same box, it's not entirely water-cooled, it's only GPU and CPU, you're already removing 20% of power consumption.
What innovations and new offerings are you bringing to market, and what's in it for your clients?
Let's maybe start with the clients, and then I'll translate it into products and technology. Yeah, we see clients really struggling with the density in the data centers, trying to deploy things at scale, whether that's the classic HPC systems or the even more demanding AI systems. And we touched on this a little bit just now, but let me explain this a little bit more in detail, because we've put a lot of innovation into our new GPU systems. We saw that what we have right now with the water-cooled systems is very good for the specialized, larger scale HPC deployments. But the classical AI users, they want an 8 GPU system. And typically they start with an air-cooled flavor. But we wanted to give them choice. So we have the same system as an air-cooled version. It's 8U high, it takes about 10 kilowatts. That's what an 8 GPU system takes, right? And if you can imagine, 42U rack, 5 of these systems in, you're at 50 kilowatts. And typically you can't do that in an air-cooled data center. You need a very, very well-engineered data center to cope with that. So that's why I wanted to give them a choice, and we do a 5U design, which is behind us here. And that's the same system, but without the huge heat sinks and much kind of less fans, and then you take it down by 20% on energy consumption. It's only 8 kilowatts now, yeah, just by doing that. And out of the 8 kilowatts, we're moving about 80% into water. That means for the same 42U rack, you can now put more systems because you don't need so much kind of heat density in there anymore. And at the same time, you can run it way more reliably because the temperatures on the GPUs, they're almost the same. In an air-cooled design, there's about 15-degree difference between front and back GPUs, which means performance suffers, you get jitter, it's not that reliable to run. So that's the thing, what customers get out of that is more use of the data center, less energy, meaning less cost, yeah, and in addition, more reliable performance. That's just one classical example, and I'm super proud of the systems we've built here of giving customers the choice. Yeah. Now, if we move from here, then the other thing I would say to emphasize is we broaden the portfolio on the storage side. We see that HPC and AI have different demands for storage. AI is a lot more smaller data, it's a lot more read, it's a lot more random. HPC is classic streaming. That's why we expanded our portfolio to now include Weka. And we not just kind of resell Weka, we really test the solution, we support the solution. So you get a full solution supported environment from us, including all the scaling data behind it. And then last not least, we also included DDN, because the market is larger out there, so we can do more and cater for more diverse demands from the clients. Again, to the message about transforming it for all and not just for a selected number of users.
Besides what you've already shared with us, what sets Lenovo apart from the competition?
I would say our approach to how we deal and work with clients, because also we have a dedicated team that does HPC, both globally, from product design, solution design perspective, testing, manufacturing, down to the local teams like my team working with the clients in the field of creating these solutions and supporting the projects, and our services team, we had a booth at the services team that help deploy this and run it for and with the clients. And we refer typically to our team as the Lenovo HPC family. And we really mean this. This is the way we work with our clients, how we treat them. And let me give a few examples there. So for instance, we have a collaboration and partnership with Imperial College in the UK. And this is about helping them broaden the use of HPC within their own user group, but at the same time helping them transform to a more sustainable way of doing HPC. So for them, water cooling is a new thing. So we bring our experience, they bring their users, use cases, and we help together make it happen. And at the same time have a showcase so they can attract even more users to adopt that. Is one example. The other one, if you look at our partnership with LRZ, they really drive us to top efficiency in the water cooling. It's not just they have been one of the first clients, their first client to adopt warm water cooling. They keep pushing us in the envelope for what they want to do. It's another thing that keeps us humble and honest, sometimes a little exposed for what we need to do, but they're really pushing us and we're enjoying that partnership. Yeah. And then maybe the third thing, we're also adding new partners, of course, to that, like the Paderborn Center for Parallel Computing. And they're looking forward to deploying a warm water cooling AMD Turin system. And again, that's going to be 136,000 cores or a little bit more, if I remember that correctly. And again, this is about partnership of getting this such a warm water cooled solutions with their experience. They want to do accelerated stuff on top of that as well, alive for the users. I think that's the key thing that sets us apart beyond the technology that we already touched on.
Sustainability has become such an important issue. You've touched on that a bit. Could you elaborate more on that topic?
It's close to our hearts what we do there. So first of all, we as Lenovo entirely are committed to being net zero by 2050, and that's validated by the Science Based Targets Initiative. And we are driving to that. But let me give examples what we're doing specifically. It starts with basic things like avoiding packaging where it's not needed. And also we are using as much as we can recycled packaging, and we avoid plastic as much as we can. But also on HPC specifically, we really prefer to ship factory integrated racks for two reasons. One is there's about 90 meters of wood that we avoid by integrating in the factory. And there's about, I think the right number is about 50 kilograms of additional cardboard that really avoid by taking it off the line in manufacturing, integrate it into the rack versus shipping it individually. It's simple things like that, but they add up if you ship kind of hundreds of racks during the year. So that's one item we do. The second item is we have just powered on the solar panels, a huge one in our manufacturing site in Budapest, so that we can run for most parts of it without additional energy coming into the manufacturing site, which is a big one because it avoids a lot of CO2 if you just use the local renewable energy. And then while we are talking about that, we are building the majority of the systems for Europe in Europe, so in Budapest in Hungary, because that reduces logistics. And if you ship something just from Hungary with a truck to a customer here, it's much less CO2 footprint than doing air freight from somewhere else in the world. And just to give a bit of a feeling, the difference between shipping something also by boat, because we can get the parts into manufacturing sites by boat, and then we just do the last mile here, is up to a factor of 50 on CO2 footprint. That's 50 difference of CO2 footprint. So that's very tangible things we are doing. And then above and beyond that, together with our clients, we've done more than a decade of warm water cooling. You see that behind us. It's our wall of history or legacy that we have here. We're very proud of that. Customers have been adopting it, started in Germany, spread in Europe, then came over to UK, to US and Asia Pacific as well. But again, let me put this into numbers. You might remember the term of an AI factory from some of the GTC announcements. And that's something like a 5,000 GPU server thing. So 5,000 servers, 8 GPUs each. And if you just translate this into power consumption and the savings between an air-cooled and a water-cooled solution, just for the first year, that's about $26 million yearly power cost savings. That's just using 10 cents per kilowatt hour. Over here in Germany, it's easily 20 cents or more, so you can double that amount. That's a lot. But if you translate this into CO2, that's about 120,000 tons of CO2 yearly savings on CO2 footprint. And that's massive. So that's why we are really so driven by our hearts to get there and have even more clients become more sustainable while we're doing the same for our own.
Well, we know Lenovo's been active in water cooling for over a decade, so you really are out ahead on that one.
Yes, we are. And I think the difference is not just bringing a water-cooled server to market, but it's the entire engineering, the know-how to be able to run this with 45-degree inlet temperature, because by doing so, you can avoid chillers. You can avoid the extra energy to cool down the water. You can run it with free cooling for most parts of the planet, maybe not in the middle of the desert, but in other places mostly. And that really avoids a lot of the cost. And we have the not just the engineering, but also the experience in the field to maintain these systems, have them run reliably. It's built into the design, but it's also coming with the service concept to do it right.
I still don't quite understand how water that's 120 degrees Fahrenheit cools things down, but we'll let that go for now.
We'll do that another time.
All right. So we've been with Andreas Thomasch of Lenovo. Thanks so much.
My pleasure entirely. Thank you.